Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. I do hope you're having a good day. This is the Day In, Day Out podcast. This is episode 30. I had the immense pleasure to speak to Jane Egerton. She released a new book, Be Fearless, back on the 17th of March. I have to say, this lady is quite an inspiration. It was a pleasure to speak to her about her new book and about a number of different subjects. So I would say please enjoy the podcast. Please have a fantastic day, and I'd like to introduce you to Jane. Have a great day. Be awesome. Be excellent, and be all the positive bees you can be, and enjoy the show. Bye bye. Peace. One, two, three. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. This is the Day In, Day Out podcast. This is episode 30. I have Jane Egerton with me today, who is, just got to say, I looked at this lady's LinkedIn. Education-wise, she is like a behemoth, godlike, to say the least. Somewhat intimidating, but she has a new book out, Be Fearless. She is from Nigeria. And yes, Jane, please introduce yourself to the lovely people out there.
Thank you, Muyiwa. Don't get intimidated. That's just academic profile.
Look, you know what? Like when you go to Warwick for business school, okay, Warwick, yeah. And then when you see Harvard, you're like, I'm not like going, okay, Harvard. Then you go Yale. So you know what I mean? Like that is to just say you want to one or the other. That would be impressive in by itself. Look, my lady, she went to Cambridge for like her MBA, and oh, that's very impressive. That's very impressive. Like if she goes to Oxford now, that's where I go. I don't want to talk to you because all I'll do is like embarrass me. I'll have to go back to school myself.
I think just sick knowledge. So I did. I'm in the STEM field, so I did study engineering, and I studied it in Nigeria. But of course, I started working in the telecommunication field in Nigeria, and the job afforded me to like literally travel most of the continents because I had to do it in all kinds of places. Then I moved into management and sales, and that's why I went to do the MBA at Warwick.
Right.
And also leadership courses and all that I did at Yale and Harvard. But the interesting thing, I'm just the girl next door that just took the lemons she has been given, and just made a lemonade. I talk about that a lot in my book because I want people to understand that in life, the situation you serve could be very difficult, but sometimes you can turn that around. You just have to be focused. You have to show commitment to your goals, and you have to trust in your instincts as well, and with a lot of hard work and prayer. So one of the reasons I wrote that book was to share that story because I know it could sometimes be intimidating. People will come in and I would smile. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I look at my 20-year-old self or myself, my younger self, and I also never thought I could get to this point. So so that's Jane. I'm married. I got 2 kids. My daughter is 9, and my son is 12. So that's Jane in a quick summary.
Like, you know what, Jane, in a quick summary, I got to say it doesn't even cover half of the things because, like, this is the thing. I saw a short video of you on YouTube where you like said that you came up from a hard neighborhood in Nigeria, Lagos. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, like from there, as I touched upon, you went from there to basically go to like Warwick in the UK, Harvard, Yale, and like you mentioned, you worked for a prominent telecoms company. Which company was that by any chance?
So I worked for Ericsson, a total of about 13 years. So Ericsson is the telecommunication vendor. In between, I worked for Nokia, or Nokia Siemens, and the name kind of changed. So I worked for them as well. But like you're right, I literally came from what we call the slums in Lagos. It was one of those places where even getting an education was a luxury.
Mm.
That's one of the challenges with poverty. You are so limited in terms of your aspiration because of the environment. You even have no ability to dream because it looks hopeless around you. When people around you are just interested in the basics, which is just to eat, just to get food for the day. Every other thing is a luxury, and every other aspiration or dream is it's a ridiculous luxury for them, and they don't see it as something that is worth chasing. But I was fortunate, while I was younger, I got into one of the government-sponsored boarding schools. So we call them federal government colleges in Nigeria. So they literally subsidize with very good schools for the middle class. And I think that was the opening for me. And I write that in my book because there I had to meet a lot of people that were from the middle class and other parts of the country. And that exposed me to all kinds of possibility. You could hear stories about their families and the vacation they went for, or their dad's profession, their mom's profession. And you'd be like, wow, I want to do that. I can do that. I want to go on a holiday like them. So those ideas start to creep in. And you start to tell yourself, maybe I can do this. Maybe I should do this. I tease and I tell people, even though I studied engineering, a core STEM course, my first physics assessment or test in what we call, and in secondary school. So that would be like that would be like year one. That's called year 6 or so, or year 7 in the UK. I literally got a 0. Like I couldn't get any question. I failed everything. The physics teacher had to ask me to really think about this whole science thing, go and think it through. But I'm like, no, I want to do it. I'll go back and I'll give it a try. And that's how I've seen life. I've seen life as life will bring you lemons, there will be challenges. There's no success story without the story behind it of how you tried and tried and tried. But when you keep going at it, that's how you achieve the goals. But I still ended up doing engineering because I did that, went back again, kept doing, kept going. And then you figure it out. When you're more interested in trying to figure something out, all of a sudden you start to get ideas, you start to be exposed to people that can help you. Because then I start to recognize, oh, I see those girls, they're always making A's in class. Maybe how do they make A's? Maybe I should ask them how they make A's. Or I notice people ask questions in class. I should figure out, how do they ask these questions? How come they know these things before the lecturer or before the teacher? And you want to make friends with them. You want to figure out how is their routine, how get to do these things. And you get to learn and learn and learn. And the more you learn, you become more confident. You get the first A and you're like, wow, I can do this. 2 more A's, 3 more A's. And before you know it, you're on that track. So, and I think that's how life is with your goals. Just think about it, just basic. You want to keep fit. The people you associate yourself with, that could be a motivation. You try the first day, the second day, you probably give up. But if the people around you are that motivated and also focused on a goal, you kind of get encouraged to get back on the bandwagon and keep trying. So yeah, that's some of the things that that had helped along the way.
Okay, no, that sounds fantastic. I like the fact that you looked at yourself, but you looked towards others around you to help improve to help improve your standards, to help motivate you to become better, and taking those lessons going forward. When you were in the sort of boarding school, what was one of the main sort of things you took away from there? Because I see it as a leaping board for other things for you.
It is. I think one of the things I learned was the fact. I think it's what I've just said is the fact that you could actually achieve your dreams. When I went into boarding school, I had no clue what I was doing there, and I'll be very frank. Like the first 3 years, I was clueless. I just there. I had low self-esteem. I was coming from a very poor neighborhood and I was meeting all those people from the middle class. I was really intimidated. I just thought I was just happy because I was coming from an environment where it was a luxury to get fed once a day.
Mm.
Then I just get into this new situation where somebody is feeding me 3 times a day. And I'm like, like
Yeah.
this lunch. So I was just happy to be there. I'm like,
Mm.
I had no goals, no ambition. I was just happy to be in a place where I meet nice people and I get fed 3 times a day. So from that, it was like I probably I had no idea of what could happen next. But
Mm.
sometime, I think in the middle of it, I think it was my 3rd year in the boarding school. And it was a serendipitous moment. It wasn't planned. I was bored. And normally when you're bored, you look for things to keep you busy. So while I was bored, what I was doing while I was bored, what I was doing while I was bored was then I would go in class when we have this prep. Prep is when you come
Yeah.
and I would just try, teach the other students. Not because I wanted to teach, because I thought I had to just say something. I was bored. So I was talking to them about what I read. And people would ask questions, so I'll go back and read more. And I did it. After a while, I found out in class I could answer questions. And I'm like, oh, is that easy? So if you read, you answer questions, and so one of the things I learned in the summer is that, sometimes when you get these dreams and all, you don't even know how you want to achieve it. Like I didn't know by the 3rd year when I decided, oh, I can make A's. I would like to make A's. Initially, I didn't know how to achieve it. But, mixing up with people, asking questions, observing others, and things start to come together. So you tend to learn that you could dream and the dreams can be achieved.
Excellent, excellent. One of the things over here in the UK they're trying to encourage more is getting young ladies into engineering. So when you say you did a like engineering stems as to a kickoff point, what drew you to it? Because it's not something which is being typically put out there, if you get what I mean.
So in hindsight, one of the things I found out was that I'm driven by a challenge. And I didn't know that as a young girl.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I had my mom, she was having a chat with one of her good friends. And the friend was like, oh, how, like one of her like upper class friends, like, oh, how her kid was in school studying engineering. It's so difficult. People are dropping out of class. And now they just feel that she was just going on. And I was eavesdropping. And I told myself, yes, I want to do that. That's the tough one. I want to do that. So, in hindsight, I now knew that, I was probably driven by the challenge. I was attracted to the fact that it was difficult and people thought it could be done. And I see that in the course of my life that, most of the things that attract me is when you tell me, oh, women don't study engineering, girls study engineering. Then I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. Why should I do that? So I see that a lot because I know when I first told folks around me that I wanted to study engineering, people were like, oh, no, you're a girl. Why do you want to spend all that time in school? Like, but boys do that thing. It's you have to they were attributing it to your physical features. You have to have physical strength, this and that. And I'm like, no, I think women can do it. I want to do it too. So that's one of the things that drew me there. And kind of when I started studying engineering, I took it upon myself to make sure that other girls and other women knew that it's got nothing to do with your physical strength. It's actually got to do with your brains, your intellectual ability. So, I became passionate about having more women or girls in STEM.
Ah, perfect. So you studied engineering. Was this in the Nigerian university?
Yes, I studied in Nigeria, University of Nigeria in Soka. So I studied, way home in Nigeria.
I see. How was that a 3-year course or a 4-year course?
No, it was 5 years.
5 years.
Do this thing for 5 years, girl. Just do like a 4-year course and come out of that place.
5 years. Oh my God. So 5 years. Was there over here we've got sandwich courses where you do 2 years, do a year in industry, and then back into university. Was it like that for you?
You do 5 years. You actually do you do the 6th year, which is like what we call internship or we call it the NYC, where you literally kind of work for the government. You like,
Okay.
But in my case, I actually did 6 years because it was at the time where, there was it was kind of politically unstable. So there was lots of strikes, lecturers and teachers would go on strike and kids would spend more time at home. So I ended up spending 6 years studying engineering. And of course, I came out and I did the 1-year internship as well, or the NYC, as we call it. So yeah, I kind of spent a long time there.
Oh my.
But it was worth it.
Yeah, like, look, put it this way, you are like, you're turning into the very definition of person who's walking the long road, the long, slow road, rather than the
It was
sprint.
actually longer than that, to be frank. So if I tap into one of my life lessons I learned as a young girl that I really held on there to was the fact that I actually got into study industrial chemistry. So like I said, I was in this boarding school, 3 years later, I'm all motivated. I want to do that. Then I come back to the slums and I, tell them the good news. I want to study engineering. And people are like, well, this is like a joke. No, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Do something easy, come back. Life is hard enough. You don't have to try that hard. And, when you have that kind of negativity all around, and I don't think they did it on purpose. They're just people that wanted to be risk averse because they felt life hasn't been fair. We're not having it fair. Don't take too much risk, go the non-risky route.
Yeah.
So just weeks before submitting my application for the university, I changed it. Because everyone around me kept telling me, this is tough, this is difficult, it's for men. You don't waste your time. It will cost us more money. You don't have to spend. There was all this information out there telling me it can't be done. And I changed it. And I didn't even know the cost I changed it to. I just knew that they said, this one is 4 years. And I flipped. It's the same cost as I said, okay, I'll do it. Then I got into university. I checked my name on the board where you have the results. I was like number 1 on the list. So I had one of the highest scores. If I had been engineering, I would have been also one of the first 10. And I told myself, so why did I just do this? Why was I so afraid? Why did I listen to all of them? I was restless for the next 1 year. I fought as hard as I could to change my course from industrial chemistry back to engineering. So one of the first lessons I learned that my dreams are mine to protect. People around me don't necessarily have to buy into that dream. And I have to understand that. But I have to protect my dream and I have to fight for it.
Very true, very true. And touching on a point where you mentioned that, people are telling you like you should do this, do that. It often comes from a place of good intentions. That, don't get me wrong, there are some people where they'll just be hating on your progress. But like, this is the whole thing. When it comes from a place of good intentions and you feel that, you might like getting sort of drawn into that whole thing of, do they have a point? Yeah, maybe they are right, maybe they're not. And sort of like having that sort of fortitude to sort of carry on, to push forward in what you're doing is a very tough thing to do as well. Especially when I say this, in a field which is not sort of typically seen as something ladies should do. It's like, by all means, get educated, become a lawyer, get educated, become a doctor, get educated, become an accountant, anything else rather than sort of engineering or something which is perceived as getting your hands dirty. So to push forward on that is very tough indeed. So with that, after you got your degree in engineering, 6 years, that's always going to trip me out. Still, after you got your degree, what did you do then? Was it a case of you just went out into the world and got a job straight away, or was it?
Oh, no, I didn't. And I see these things in the book. I didn't. Actually, it was literally a miserable time the first few months because now I have the degree. I had all the plans. I'm going to get a good job. And I was searching for the jobs. I literally didn't have access, especially in my environment. So, I couldn't just walk into a company and say, hey, this is Jane, I need a job. There were no structures in place. You couldn't do that. So most times you just cold calling, and you know how it is. People, you're at the gate and like, excuse me, who are you here to see? And you
Yeah.
actually don't know anyone. So I'd be like, the HR manager, we don't have a HR manager. Or operations manager, or we don't have a, I'm like flipping all the names, hoping that one of them would stick. So that was, and it was just about a 3-month period, if I think back, but it felt like forever.
Mm.
For someone that was in a situation that I really wanted to get out from. I was literally living in a place, like getting a meal was a big of a struggle. So I really wanted to get a job. I wanted to change things. But I was fortunate that I got a break, and I got a break from someone I didn't even know. First of all, a shout out to all the people that do all the work that sometimes we ignore. So first of all, it was a security guard. He was nice because a friend had told me, oh, that company over there is an engineering company, and I hear they pay well. They're looking for interns. And I'm like, oh, I'll go try. I go the first day, second day, third, I kept going. After a while, the security guard is like, you know what, okay, you can go see the reception. And, you keep trying the reception, and she's like, no, I don't know this guy. I don't know this guy. I don't know. There's no HR. There's no. Then one day she told me, you know what, keep coming here. This is what I'm going to tell you. You go home today. When you come back on Monday, just walk straight to me. Tell me I have an appointment to see this person, Mr. Larry, so and so. I will call Mr. Larry. If he comes, please don't mention my name. I never referenced him. You can try and talk him and see if he can, help you out. And that's what I did. I showed up after the weekend on a Monday, walked straight to her. She kept to her word. I said, I'm here to see Mr. Larry, so and so. I have an appointment. She called him. Mr. Larry spent an hour with me trying to understand how I got his name, who referenced me, and I spent that hour trying to convince him why he should recruit me. So you can imagine. This was probably 26 or 25-year-old self. But the good thing is that he did recruit me. He gave me a chance. He said, oh, come see the HR. Let me see your CV. And he gave me my first big break. I didn't know him from Adam. I didn't know him anywhere. And I actually did something wrong, like, just cold calling and, surprising him in that manner. But he was so helpful. And that's how I got my first job. I worked as what we call an earth station engineer. So you see those big masts and dishes you have. So we man them, or we take care of them. So it's one of those jobs you have to work on a rooster 24 hours, So somebody's on the morning shift or afternoon shift or evening shift. So that was my first job. And I was so happy and proud to do that.
Loving it. This is the thing. One of the things I would say people, and I think it's going to be very much called for when we come out on the other side of lockdown. I don't know what it's like in Nigeria right now, but
lockdown here. There's lockdown.
Yeah. But like the whole thing is, I think after the lockdown, when the world tries to start up again with regards to all the different economies and stuff like this, I think there's going to be a period of time where it's going to be hard for people to sort of get themselves going, to get themselves into the rhythm of things, and talking about how your persistence after you came out 3 months without knowing you were going to get a job. It never seems, when you look back upon reflection, you go, oh, it's only 3 months. But when you're in the thick of it,
those days felt like forever.
Yeah. And when you're in that sort of forever moment, it just being able to stay motivated, it's being able to keep pushing yourself forward, taking that next step, seeing that next person, going to that next company. It is vitally important. And I think with regards to what's going to happen, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 months, nor do you, but when we do get back into it, just being able to be persistent, just being able to stay focused, being motivated, it's going to be more important than ever, just to help pick things up.
Very true. And also, maybe if I add to one thing, just to also know that sometimes people come from the unlikely places. Just, be open that help might come from unlikely places.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that receptionist would have pointed me in the right direction. I probably was there looking for, if I get to be introduced to someone that works in some big office. But the person that would actually point you in the right direction might be someone you take for granted. So just be open to the fact that help might come from unlikely places.
Respectful, be respectful, be respectful. Um, yeah, like, so you started working, like, it was a case of like, how did it go from there? Did you spend a couple of years there or a year there before you sort of like got onto like Ericsson type situation?
Frankly speaking, I didn't spend up to a year. I spent like 18 months. It wasn't up to 2 years. It wasn't a long job for me.
Mm,
Then I got into Ericsson, and it was even a tough decision making that decision.
mm,
It was a tough one because when I initially got that Ericsson offer, I couldn't see the value, because I was going to end the same. I thought, why would I move to Ericsson?
mm,
It occurred to me that, maybe for the career growth, Ericsson was a bigger company, it had more structure, it had more opportunities for career growth. So I decided to go with working for Ericsson. So I
mm.
started my journey in Ericsson, and it was interesting too. Like I said, things will happen. You get all these things happen. And one of the big things I learned is that sometimes you have it all planned out, but be open and flexible that you might have to change your pathway. Ultimately you're trying to achieve the same big vision. So when I got into Ericsson, I was a very technical person. So I did technical jobs. I fell into sales. I keep saying it. It wasn't deliberate. It wasn't planned. It was just one of those moments again. We talk about
Yeah.
those moments. Like I was kind of bored as well, didn't have much on my plate, and someone from another department had come over to offer me, like, they had a project and they didn't know who could run it, and they
Mm.
were all busy. And he did tell me, like, a disclaimer: there is no increase in any salary, nobody getting any extra promotion if you do take on the project. They just wanted someone to run that project, and he thought that I was energetic and I could do it. And even my colleagues were like, why would he take it? Like, there's nothing to be, you're gaining nothing
Mm.
from it. I wouldn't take it. But I thought, I'm bored, like, I'll take it, just
Yeah.
keep it easy. But they told me from day one that that project was very unsuccessful every way they ran it. They ran it in Europe and South Africa, other
Mm.
places. It was very unsuccessful. And they did not have any ambition that it was going to be successful. They just wanted me to run it. But of
Okay.
course, like your normal self, being the Jane, I thought I could do this and do it really well. So I went all in, and I ran that project for 9 months, and it did become successful. So the client we ran the project for wanted to take it further, and they wanted to, blow it out and make it bigger. So as
Mm.
usual, we would have a party when the project is successful with the client, celebrate. So we had this cocktail thing going on, and everybody was there. We're drinking, being fun, and all that. And I didn't know someone was observing me in the party. So the head of the department I ran the project for, he came over to me and said, Jane, I would love you to come work for me as a salesperson. And I'm like, you're drinking, we're all drunk. I get it. The project was successful. Ask me again on Monday, I'll take you
Yeah.
serious. And he's like, no, it's not a joke. I'm And I'm
Yeah.
like, why? He's like, you know my clients more than me. And I'm like, hmm? He's like, you know everyone in this room. I said, yes,
Mm.
I ran the project. And I had to go chasing all of them for one thing or the other. He's like, no, you don't get it. You literally know everyone in this room. And that for me is important. I thought it was a joke. He showed up on Monday morning in my office and like, take a laptop and coming with me.
It's
And
okay.
that's funny.
It's okay. Yeah, I told you, your new job is awaiting.
So sometimes life would, I say, be flexible, because I struggled with that for a while. I'm like, but
Mm.
I'm a technical person and I want to do technical stuff. But I was fortunate. I did have like an informal mentor. So he was like, you know what? If you really want to get into management, this is a good route to go to
Mm.
management, to expose you to new skills. So think about it. And, after we had that chat, so sometimes you never tell, you got to be open to new things, and especially with what is happening right now. I think there'll be lots of changes after the whole COVID crisis.
Yeah.
Likely the future of work will change, the way we work will change, new organizations will crop up. Some of them, old ones, probably shut down, but be open to know that with new skills, or with some, inherent skills you have, you could probably forge a new career for yourself.
Mm. No, indeed, indeed. No, like this is the thing. With when you say new, like the working environment's changed. I think with regards to people working from home and remotely, I think this has basically hyper accelerated everything forward, maybe by 10 years or so, because it was slowly going that way. But this now is just like anyone who had sort of have misconceptions or basically weren't 100% sure. I think that for many organizations which could do it and now are doing it, it's gone. And I think the whole realm of work on that side of things, I can see when office leases come to an end in like over here, that like companies will get smaller spaces
Yeah.
and have more people working remotely. I think the thing which is going to be the next thing is there's going to be an uptake in very super fast broadband. I can see that happening.
Definitely. It's already happening. Even here, we saw that with the start of the whole lockdown, data consumption just spiked. Spiked. You see, we're using tools like Zoom. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, yeah, like
Thing before the crisis. Now, even my kids are schooling using Zoom.
yeah, like this is the thing I used to use for my remote podcast, Skype. And like about 2 weeks before like the lockdown happened, I went, oh, try Zoom because the whole thing with Skype, it's a little bit, how can I put it? It's a little bit too much friction because you got to have Skype. And if you don't have Skype, then it's a case of getting those people to get Skype, downloading and then doing this.
And all that.
Yeah. So it was just like so much friction rather than Zoom. You just simply have Zoom, send them the link, it downloads, and once it's there, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there'll be new things. Well, I think we should all be open to the fact that there will be new things, and we should be open to take the change and adapt. To survive, you would have to adapt.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's one of the things and everyone's going to have to do over the next, over the second half of this year and like 2021 for sure. Adapt, change, and see where it takes us, hopefully, to better places, much stronger places.
To a better place.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
Oh, yes, indeed. Tell me this, when you were studying your MBA, was that over in America or the UK? Sorry, I don't know.
I studied my MBA in the UK, actually.
Okay.
In University of Warwick. So there was the Warwick Business School. And I did it as a modular student. So I used to fly into the UK every 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And the weekends. I was flying on a Friday night. Yeah, I used to fly on Friday night. Friday night. And I'll leave the UK, the last flight on Sunday.
Right. Yeah, because
I used to run it for a week. So it was a week's program.
Okay.
So I'll fly in on a Sunday, then run the classes Monday to Friday. Then I take the last flight out Friday night. That's what I did.
Yeah, that must be very intense because like my lady, she did a year in Cambridge at Judd. So she was looking at a London Business School, which she looked at the executive program, which you did to like study and work at the same time. But like she looked and she basically said, no, I'll do one or the other, but doing both at the same time. It's not easy. Let's just say it's not easy.
A lot of time because I was doing that and I was working, and that's the thing with life. In hindsight, I look back and I say it make it look easy. It was a very tough period because I didn't have study leave, so I used up my leave days going to school.
Whoa.
So it was a tough time, and even I remember then I was dated. So my husband, now my husband, he'd be like, how do you make these crazy decisions? Like your school fees is equivalent to your entire paycheck. You're like, how are you going to survive? I'm like, I'll survive. I was making, because, when you're driven by a goal, sometimes you have to make those sacrifices and they don't look very, very attractive at the time you make it. They're really tough. Like you're talking about your lady, having those kind of choices. And at that time, maybe you just want to party with your friends and enjoy, but now you have to study. You literally don't have any spare time because you're busy studying after work. So, but those things will bring you rewards. Those things will bring you rewards. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, with the executive in Warwick, is that an 18-month program or is that a year program?
No, it was more than a year. So the 1 year is where you do like your main courses. Then I had to do another 18 months where you do the optional courses. And those optional courses are the ones you can then decide. Some of them you can do remotely, others you can travel. So it was about, I did it for about 3 years at the end of it, because I had to even defer it for a while because I was pregnant.
Yes. With your son.
And then I got married, then I got pregnant.
Well, yeah, you know what? I don't think, just judging by your character and like what you've said before, I don't think doing it the easier. I showed up, I went to school, and then while working, and then do it. It's like like I would have been like sitting there like, really? He just did it. That sounds like you did it really easy. It was like, I got married, had a baby. It's like
it wasn't that easy. We make it sound easy, but it wasn't. It wasn't.
No. It's okay. So every time you stepping up to the challenge. What may I ask? What has given you such a drive behind what you're doing? Because look, don't get me wrong. Like going to the boarding school, which helped you like with one stage, then going to like university for 6 years, like that is no easy task. Then going to Warwick, and like look, we haven't even touched on Harvard or Yale yet. But what is the driving force for you to do all of this? Where like, let's just say, just doing half of that is like, a fantastic life in accomplishments.
I think initially, if I reflect on it, I was more driven by survival. I wanted to get out of poverty, coming from very humble beginnings. I just wanted to get to a point where I could at least take care of myself or those around me. So that was the drive. On the line, I was driven by a challenge because I was always looking for the ones they say you shouldn't do, or you can't do, or it's difficult to do. That was always a motivating factor. But I know these days I'm more driven by my need to want to share what I've achieved, to create an impact, my passion to want to tell other women, you can do it. Look, I did it, to tell other young girls, like you can go for it. No one is stopping you. Don't let anyone stop you. So that has been a driver of late. And it's really been a driver for my book, for my nonprofit, even for the work I do. Because I remember having a conversation with someone and she was talking about my job. I'm like, you know what, how are you enjoying your job? It looks like it could be very tough because I tend to travel a lot and, manage a lot of things. And I told her, but I'm still fulfilled. It's very, it's really hard work, but I'm fulfilled because I think it's more than a job for me. Because I take these roles that there've been very few women, or probably no women. Like, for example, my role in my office, I'm the only lady. Right? And then you're the boss, But I do that because I feel it's more than just a job. It's me probably telling some other woman aspiring to be like me, a younger version of myself, my daughter, my younger self, that, did you see her? You can do that, and you can do much more than that. That becomes a driver to do it, to say that you need to keep these doors open so younger girls can go through this door. So it's not just about you being there and be happy that you're there. You do it so the younger girls can aspire to do this and better than this.
No, I see that. I see that. I see that within you, and this is the thing. Is this some of the things what encouraged you to go along and start doing talks? Like I see you've done a TED talk.
Yeah. That's really the motivator behind it. Because sometimes you tell yourself, I don't have time. I'm too busy. Sometimes you are really too busy to do that. But I thought, what would be the best gift I would give myself? And I started reflecting on that really like 4 years ago, because I was doing that initially after school. Then I stopped because I had a very close friend. We did that together. And once I lost her, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't get myself to do it. I just felt, don't want to get involved in any of such things. I just want to live my life, like hide under the table, do my thing and disappear. You go through that phase, and I was grieving. I found out I was grieving. But about 4 years ago, I told myself, this is my purpose. This is what I love to do. I want to give back. And that has been the motivator. And I create time for it. Literally, when people are shocked that I respond to their messages, like when they send all those social media messages, are like, can I have 5 minutes? Can you do this? And you respond. People are like, she responded. They're literally shocked. But I do, because I became aware that that's what I want to do. That is what I'm driven by currently. And I want to do that. So I would create time for it. So sometimes, of course, it's not easy. Like I remember, telling, I think I posted it on social media, like I had gone to Ghana over the weekend for one of those career talks with a university. It's a University of Mines and Technology in Ghana. And there are only 10% women in that school. And that's one of the reasons I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go. 10% women, we go talk to those women. But I came back late. I was stuck in the airport. It was like almost midnight. And, my kids are calling. My husband is calling. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get a taxi. I'm tired. But I was fulfilled. I was happy because of what I just done. To see the smiles on those girls, to see the fact that they were happy that I came and I could share that story and I could encourage them and I could give them access to say, call me. I will create some kind of mentoring platform and I'll connect you to mentors that would help you. That made me happy. So yeah, that's one of the big drivers. And that's why I wanted to launch the book the way I did. So initially the plan to launch the book was I was going to go to 20 universities in Nigeria.
Okay.
And I wanted to, talk about the book and talk about, do career talks around the book. Because I felt like I really wanted them to read the book. I thought, the best thing I could do from this book is to see that I could impact the younger ones with the book. So I was all pumped up, ready to go there.
Yeah. Then I found a way. Came in with a name called COVID. Is that, yes. There's a, damn you. But this is the thing. With all you've done and come through, you now, with regards to the book, is it a case of it's just been released on Amazon, or is it a case of or is it being released everywhere?
So the first launch was on Amazon because we wanted to make the e-copies first available. So the second launch, which was meant to have been on April 6th, was put it in bookstores.
Okay.
But we had to put a hold on that because, the whole lockdown, and we couldn't get the cargo shipments on track because most of the countries were also freezing cargo movement for things like that. But we do have the book on Amazon. We have it in most of the online stores in Nigeria. So they have like Okada, so Bambi Books. Those are online stores like Amazon. So we have them available there. And we're trying to also get more online stores in other countries in Africa. But hopefully when the lockdown is lifted up, we would have them physically in bookstores.
And with regards to Be Fearless, what are some of the things it's covering?
So the Be Fearless, a lot of things about personal development, It's a lot of things about mentoring and coaching for young people that are taking on a career. Lots of insights into personal leadership when you're going on that journey, because you need to be able to, I believe in leadership inside out. You have to lead yourself first, then you can lead others. So those kind of concepts, we'll talk about them. But there's a lot of it on the line factor. There's a lot of it that is inspirational and motivational. I didn't even see the book that way, but that's a lot of feedback I get from people that read it. They're inspired by the stories of, just picking yourself up off the ground and going after something against all odds and achieving it. And I find it so relatable, something we can relate to during this whole crisis is the fact that lots of us are feeling a bit anxious, how would it be, the economic downturn, would it come back, we lose jobs, and there's all mental anxiety and emotional anxiety, when will this be over, people are dying and all that. So that kind of stress could probably make a situation look hopeless. You just feel you don't even have to dream, you don't need to plan.
Mm.
But one of the things I learned from my past, is the fact that if you keep going at it, it's like against all odds. If we keep going at it, we help each other, support each other with whatever tools we can now. Like what we're doing is online. We can all get through this together. And when we do get through it together, the sky is the limit. God knows what the new phase of the world will be. Maybe the new planet Earth will be driven in the right direction this time around.
Mm. Yes, we can hope and we can pray with regards to that. And you know what I mean? I would say if we start approaching it with some degree of positivity or some degree of unity, by all means, I think we will be heading in a better direction, hopefully a less selfish direction, and yeah, see what happens from there. Yeah. With regards to the book, is it just like you said, digital, it's going to be paperback? Are you going to do an audio version, or have you done an audio version of the book?
Okay, it's first time I'm announcing it. Yes, we have an audio version in the works. It's going to be out later in the year.
Okay.
Yeah. But we do have the paperback version, hardcover, and the ebook or the Kindle version are all available via Amazon. But the version is in the works. So that's the next phase of Be Fearless.
Okay, great, outstanding. So let me say this: if there was something you could do, like in the next, say, 6 months, what would that be to help, say, improve things in either your job sector or like with the community in general?
A lot of things. I know that I do have a passion for younger people.
Mm.
And one of the things I wanted to do as a person is use my story, my life, to really motivate the younger ones, especially those that don't have access or don't have support. And I haven't come from the slums myself. I wanted to use that experience. And that's what I see I can do in the next 6 months. In the sector, really, what I really want to do, and I see myself doing the next 6 months, is really supporting more women to remain in the sector. We see a lot of women coming to the sector, but then they leave. They leave for various reasons. They find it sometimes difficult to adapt as they climb up. That's one of the reasons I have stayed back, because I felt we need women at the table. If you want those changes, you should be there to represent and talk about the changes you want. If you're not there to represent, nobody knows about the changes you're asking.
You know, it's often easier to change it from the inside rather than the outside. Be part of the solution rather than like shouting at the problem.
Yeah. So, and I really want to do that. I see myself doing that in the next 6 months, really being at those places where we can talk about change and how we can improve it. And that's one of the good things I feel came out from the lockdown. Sometimes you have to see the silver lining. Especially down here in Africa, people have been really averse to working from home or working remotely. And that's one of the tool set I felt could really help women, especially women during the career journey. When they start to have kids and get married, sometimes they struggle to really combine these things. And I thought one of the tools that could have been helpful is, if they could work from home some days, especially for roles that you don't necessarily have to be physically present. Work from home, either some days or a couple of hours in a week. It could really help when you don't have any daycare facility, or you don't have any support, or you have to be physically there as a parent. Maybe you have to take the child to the hospital or to the clinic. So that's one of the good things, is that I see organizations being a bit more relaxed and accepting of the new way of work, and accepting that, yes, you could actually work from home and it will be acceptable. So that's one of the good things I would say that has come up from this whole lockdown.
Question: how good is the high-speed internet in Nigeria at the moment? The reason why I ask this is because in the UK, if you're in a major city, it's like you can get fantastic speeds. And looking at some news reports, there has been people which have just been like, what are you using? You see what their news and you're like going, ugh. And if you're in the countryside, we've started a scheme a few years ago where like there are some like towns or villages in the countryside which have nothing, or it's super fast. What's it like in Nigeria right now? Is the standard really good?
We've got 4G.
You got
No,
3G.
that's not that's not the issue. We do have the technology, but I think one of our biggest challenges is that we don't have coverage everywhere. So we don't have continuous coverage. So we do have that disparity, the whole digital divide. In the cities, we would have access. Outside the cities or outside those main urban areas, we lack access. But that's where most of the population is.
Yes.
We still have a challenge trying to provide broadband to the majority of the population. So that's where we are lacking, and I think that's where a lot of focus should be. And that's one of the good outcomes of also what is happening, because we have also discovered we can live like that. So I'll give you an example. So, of course, in the cities where I am, I have broadband fiber. So I have access to broadband and very high speed broadband. Sometimes even better than what I would get in other countries, like when I go to Europe. But people in the rural or semi-rural areas don't have that kind of access. And now with the whole lockdown, we would really have loved schools to be online.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how long we have to stay at home. But what we have discovered is only people in the cities that can have access. Kids or schools in the remote or semi-urban areas, they don't have access. So they're literally going to be at home doing nothing, having no way to access them and no way to support them during that period. And even for the governments to even access the population in those areas, because now we want people to isolate, we don't want people moving around. But then how do you as a government, pass on that information, access them, if you don't want to use the traditional media? So that's one of the good things we have discovered, that we need to step up. We need to ensure that we have broadband access in most of the parts of the country.
Yeah, like I think with regards to, I made mention to it earlier. I know one of the priorities for my household is it's going to be a case of when we change our contract, we're going to have we're going to get much more faster internet connection. It's just a case of you between me doing this and my lady working, doing her work stuff, you all of a sudden there'll be times where if she's pulling a lot of data or if I take up a lot of bandwidth, it slows right down. And look, I'm saying that sitting in London, capital city of the UK, and okay, I would say we've got we've got a fast internet connection. You can run your Netflix and everything like that with it, but still need more, especially with everyone else pulling from that same pool. So it's you kind of see the limitations globally. The only reason why I make mention of Nigeria is just because I used to work many moons ago in sort of maritime communications.
Good.
Yeah, so I know about some of the initiatives which have been brought in with telecoms and stuff like this. So when people think some African countries, they think, it's not going to be that good, which I know it's not true. It's just, I don't know what the sort of range of the coverage is. It's just here in the UK.
It is very good in the cities. I'm in the city, literally when you talk about, I have, the other day I was checking to see how many connected devices I have. So many things that have access to the internet. And I have over 20 of it. You don't even know how far you've gone until you really reflect. We have the PS4s and we have 4 smart TVs, and I want to stream a different Netflix movie. My son is on his own, my daughter, my husband, and we're really high consumers of data. We are watching videos. My son is playing his PS4. My daughter is streaming something, or even just doing online school. They are always using video to do their online school. So they'll be online doing the things. I'll be working online, having meetings on Zoom. My husband will be doing the same. So we have all these connected devices, your smart wristwatches, you have your Amazon, what do we call it? The Oh,
Alexa.
Alexa, those are things that consume data. You have all those things on at the same time. So you're definitely using data. But I know that the challenge will be, we would like to have that when I go to the rural areas. When I go to my village, I would also be able to, I want to be able to also stream Netflix there. Yeah, that's what we are asking for, that people in the remote areas will also have access to digital tools and to help them in terms of economically in the work they do, give them access to ways they can even sell their products. So that will be the next phase we would really have to focus on.
Yeah, and seeing as Nigeria, when it comes to like technology, is like it's one of the powerhouses of Africa with regards to moving that next stage forward, putting that vital infrastructure in across the whole of the country. So yeah, someone in a rural part of like Nigeria will be able to take a full advantage of that. Can only help improve people's lives that much better.
Yeah, it will. It will. It will be a good way to do that. And not like we haven't come far. This is a country, we literally have about 90 million subscribers. One of the biggest network here, MTN, has about 60 million subscribers. You're talking about big countries in Asia to get to those numbers. Countries like Ghana, how many people in Ghana? Maybe like 25, 30 million.
Yeah.
So they're large networks in themselves, but the reality is that in relation to what we have as a country, we're about 180 million people. So we still have a long way to go. We only have coverage in about 60%. I think we have about 60% of the population connected. So we still have to figure out how to give access to the 40%. And talking about, talking from my knowledge of the sector, I know it is not as easy because for the carriers or the operators like the AT&Ts, the O2 and all that, they would want to see a business case to go to the rural area. You want to be sure I can make money. And sometimes you don't make money the traditional way when you go to these areas because they wouldn't consume data like the city. So they have to be incentivized to go to the rural areas and give coverage. It has to be more than making money. There has to be a reason to go there. And I think that's why we need to put a lot of focus, or the government needs to put a lot of focus, because we have to find a way to incentivize the private sector to provide access for those in the rural areas.
No, very true. Do you what would you think would be one of the ways they might look to incentivize themselves to get into those areas?
I think one of the ways they could do, we'll be talking about, is partnership, because the biggest challenge is your cost driver is the infrastructure. Putting those radio base stations, the towers in, it is quite expensive. And if you put it in a place where you don't get a lot of calls, so what we call your ARPU is low, so the average revenue you get from a subscriber is lower than in the city, then you're not incentivized. But if it's a partnership with the government, so the government incentivizes you by either giving you a tax break or reduces the duties on the equipment you put there, or takes away the cost of the permits. And I did that in Ghana while I was there. If there's that joint partnership, it reduces the cost. So the barrier to entry goes down a bit and the private sector goes there. Another way we could also look at it is also the value. Even though we say these people are in the rural areas, there's a lot if you can adapt products for them, because you can't take the same products you have pitched in the urban areas. Their needs are slightly different. So things like e-health, in the urban areas it's easy. You can just drive to the hospital. In rural areas, you probably have to do a 2-hour drive. That's after walking for 2 hours. Then you take a bus or a taxi for another 2 hours. So if you had things like e-health, you have community centers where people can go and remotely they would be able to access experts in the cities, expert consultant doctors in the cities. And it could be a service they could subscribe to. So it can be packaged in a way they can consume it. So you can't tell them is, like £500 to access a cardiologist. If you tell them, if you subscribe for £5 a month on this e-health platform, we can ensure that it becomes like an insurance, that if you're ever sick and you need to see an expert, we will connect you with one remotely. So those are kind of things you could do. You could do things like, the payment which is one of the ones they figured out, which is quite common here.
Yeah.
Supporting e-payments, so mobile money, because of course you don't really have banking in the rural areas because the brick and mortar banks don't really like to build, you can't build a bank community with only 40 or 20 or 100 people living in it. But if we do have mobile money, so the people in the rural areas have a way to transact and do financial transactions, that will definitely help. And it won't be for free. They pay a little bit of transaction fee, but then they know that they can transfer money or receive money, pay people or transact. There's numerous ways we can support their sector, like the agricultural sector, which is a big thing in the rural areas. So there's e-agriculture. How can we help farmers sell their produce? Maybe create an e-commerce platform, give them access to the platform. They meet other traders. They can trade, they can sell, they can know what cocoa is trading for the day, what cassava is trading for the day. So they know, do we want to sell? Do we want to sell? Have access to weather information. There's so much you can help them with, and they can pay a bit of a subscription fee. So the model will change, like in the urban or in the cities, people can easily pay for large chunk service. But in the rural areas, you need to slightly change the way you charge them. You have to charge them the way that is easier for them to consume it and pay for it. So there are all kinds of things. I think that is an untapped market. We call it the bottom of the pyramid. That is a really untapped market. And when you do it right, you tend to see the value.
Yeah, like this is the thing with just those two modules you mentioned, I can see like great opportunities with that. With on the side of health, especially what's been going on lately, I think that's going to be that thing. Like fingers crossed, we don't go through anything like this anytime soon again. But I think that sort of being able to access doctors and like basically specialists will be highly beneficial. I know with Ericsson, it's more the sort of tower side rather than sort of hard cable in. So yeah, that will be highly beneficial. I know in India, they do a lot of sort of like payment processing and payments via their mobile phone. So like, yeah, it's not like something which is a completely out there concept, if you get what I mean. It's been done. It's been done in other places. It just needs to like be implemented.
It's just because I know one of the big challenges we have in Africa, we don't have data. We have a huge informal economy. So access to data, sometimes it doesn't even exist. So, and you know how it is with structured businesses. You want data. You want to see what the data tells you. And when you don't have data to work with, it's so difficult to forecast or just even, decide, how the business case or your business case will look like. So I know businesses struggle with that. I remember the project I ran, we struggled because just even understand what is the population density. Then we decide, should we go or shouldn't we go? There was no data. There was no good data to really get a good idea of what the population density is. But so some of the companies just take that risk and try it. And we sometimes are pleasantly surprised when we do. Like in the case of Ghana, we put on those sites. We couldn't get a good idea of the population density. So we couldn't tell how many people are there, how many of them are educated, how many of them are illiterate, how many of them have access to phones or smartphones. It was so difficult to get that data. So we just went there blind, but we were shocked. The sites themselves were congested.
There you go. Now, I imagine it's a bit like the chicken egg sort of thing, the way you're talking, because as soon as you put a tower in, you know how many people are logging into that tower, how many pings are going off. But before you can do that, you need to have some type of like real sort of justification to put that tower in. So but like the whole thing, I can, if I know there's a tower being put in and like that'll be my sort of main communication. Maybe it's just the way I'm thinking coming from like being brought up and raised in the UK, but I can remember a time before cell phones and towers and everything like this, which I would say anyone who's in their early or mid 20s have no idea about. Is that you lived without mobile phones? what type of world was it? It's like,
I think that's how my kids feel now. They're like, oh,
yeah,
you
yeah.
guys complicate. So,
Yeah, yeah. There's like you know what? I had to go to a place called a video store, get a videotape, put that in, and yeah, it's like no, it's totally alien. But I would say if the towers went in, the demand will appear from nowhere. Well, not from nowhere. I reckon the demand is there. It's just a case of just giving people access to it.
people access, and what we also find out that you actually create the market as well. There's a segment of it that comes on because you can. You know, you change people's habit. Just the fact that people now have coverage. Maybe if they're older people, their kids or their children in the cities realize, oh, I can now call my grandpa, so I should get a phone. You know, I should get him some airtime. So you kind of change the habits, and then they start to call their grandparents more often because they found out now that there's a good coverage where the grandparents live. So you can actually then create activity just by being present. People now know that, oh, we can transact using the phone. You know, I need to figure out how much the price of cocoa is. I don't need to walk all the way 10 miles. I could just call and ask my fellow farmer how much was the price today. You know, so you kind of create a market.
Yep. There is a bleeping noise going off. I don't know.
I don't know where that bleeping noise is.
Like it's getting a little bit more like hey. I don't know if it's like saying I need you to do something or whatnot, but yeah.
I remember, but I don't have a timer set. I'm just hoping is not one of my apps. I hope it's not one of the apps. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear.
You can hear me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but yes. Let's see.
I don't know. I was just trying to see if I could figure out what the bleeping noise is about, but
no, it's all good. It's perfectly fine. Yeah. So now.
Okay, go ahead. I can hear you. Probably
Yeah.
I have to ignore the noise.
Yeah, I think with people like yourself in the thick of things, I think with regards to, the rural areas of Nigeria or Ghana, basically in Africa in general, I think that will be, I think in the next 5-10 years, I think this is going to be something which is going to be put in the sort of annals of history, where there was poor sort of network coverage and everything like this. I think it might lead to quite a sort of new sort of, how can I put it, e-revolution, I would say, just like a new form of empowerment for many person in the African community, well, continent, I should say. So it's just a case of companies having that belief and basically pushing forward with it. And yeah, I think with regards to COVID, I think that's going to be one of the positive outcomes from this. Yeah, you know better than I. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, I'm mute.
No, so I'm here. Don't worry, I'm here. I muted because I didn't want the whole the ding dong sound.
Yeah,
you're right. So one of the good things that will come out is that we would have emergence of new ways of doing things, and new sectors will come in the forefront, like what you just said, because now we start to see where the gaps are. You know, see why we were not prepared, where the gaps are, and hopefully we will do things. You know, do things to address that. So one of the things we will figure out, or we will find out, like we need to be digitally invested, because we just don't want that for the upper class or the middle class or the cities. We want that for the entire population.
Yeah.
Because if we do have a situation like this, everyone is affected. It's not the matter of people in the cities or people that are educated. Everyone is affected. So if you want to create solution, you need to create solution for everyone, irrespective of their location in the country. So one of the good things that would happen is that sectors like, IT, tech, telecom, start to come in the forefront because they become important as a sector that could help you bridge the gap. And of course, people in those sectors will definitely have to step up and see how they can support the governments to bridge the gap.
Perfect. So, right. It has been over an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah. So, okay. If there was a book or a film or like you could recommend to someone over these sort of lockdown times, what would it be?
I'm a girly kind of girl when it comes to movies, so maybe books. Because movies, I don't watch something serious. I just want something that will make me laugh or smile and relax. But books, I love books. I love to read. Malcolm Gladwell is a writer that I so admire. Books, I find them quite intellectually engaging. I love the fact that he brings old concepts in new perspectives. So I love most of his writing. When it comes to reading non-fiction or just creatives, I love Toni Morrison. She's an author I just found of recent, and I love the way she really goes there in her book. She's unapologetic about her race, her gender, and she writes about characters that we have even taken for granted. And I love the way she portrays them in a different light that we don't see. Sometimes we don't see a slave in that light. We don't understand they have feelings, emotions. And she portrays these characters in an amazing light that you start to rethink. And it's good perspective because you bring it back to where you are. How do I treat staff? How do I treat my domestic staff? How do I treat people that I think that are not essential workers? That's a good way to look at it. But when it comes to movies, I'm like, I'm a girly person. Any girly movie goes to me. Guess what I just finished watching on Netflix, by the way? Jane the Virgin. So that's the kind of girl I am.
Which one?
Jane the Virgin. Have you seen Jane the Virgin?
I haven't seen Jane the Virgin. No. Like, this is the thing. Recently, it's been like, apart from Tiger King, I've been like watching like past episode.
I haven't seen Tiger King. What was I've watched them. Well, I do like documentaries though. The Tale of the Two Popes. I love that. It was on Netflix as well.
Yeah,
that was one of the, I love documentaries, so I did enjoy that one.
I was watching this documentary the other day. Like, one of the things what sort of fascinates me is like the craziness what went on in like sort of Florida in the sort of 70s and 80s with regards to like, how can I say, with the cartels and like the whole drugs thing. Just can't remember the name of it. Like, it's like these crazy sort of gangsters like now like operating in Florida now, in like they've gone back to Russia just as the fall of like the Soviet Union.
Wow.
So now, like, these crazy cats like were like buying helicopters, like military helicopters for $500. This is how mad it is. $500 just flying down the street, land in the middle of the street. Like, can you tell us where this? And the lady's like, is in that direction. Get back into the helicopter, fly off. And like, put it this way, it just builds into this mad thing where I think they're trying to get a submarine.
Well, it reminds me of one I just saw on Netflix, The Ozarks. There's also a series on Netflix, The Ozarks.
Yeah, like this is the thing with Ozarks. I've watched the first episode twice because I was like, okay, I watched it years ago. I was like, and then you know how it is. You get busy and like you can't actually get back to it. So I was like, okay, got time now. Let me get back to it. I watched it about 2 weeks ago, and yeah, I have not watched another episode of like the Ozarks because look, look, all I've got to say is like, have you seen the Ozarks? Have you?
I have. I've seen the entire.
Yeah, look, yeah, look, so look, you know, from the first episode, you watch what goes down in that first episode. And I was just like, what? It's like, yes. It's like, you're like, what? So it's like, so yeah, anything what starts off that mad.
Yeah, the craziness.
Yeah,
Something else.
I think, yeah, I've got to watch it. I've got to watch it, but I haven't, I've got time to watch it.
But I think if you ask me, you should see The Black Godfather.
The Black Godfather.
Yes.
Okay, I shall definitely look that up on Netflix, right?
On Netflix.
Okay, Black Godfather.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, okay, on that happy note, yeah, can you tell people where they can find you? Yes, like put it this way, yeah, you are hugely inspirational person. I think, yes, people definitely need to find you. So can you give me your social medias, everything?
Feel free to connect. I'm everywhere. Literally, I'm on LinkedIn. It's Jane Egerton-Idehen. You can find me on Twitter, Jane Egerton-Idehen, or NK_AMADI. I'm on Facebook, Jane Egerton-Idehen. I'm on Instagram. And funny enough, you know, I just joined TikTok. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do. But yeah.
You know what? I'm on TikTok, just like floating around. Not like I have no idea what I'm doing with that. So yeah, I only post occasionally. But yes, by all means, yeah, what I'll do, I'm definitely.
But I do also have a website, so that's an easy way. JaneEgerton.com.
Perfect.
Website, you get all the information. You find all my social media handles. So that's the easiest way to reach me. Is JaneEgerton.com, my website.
Excellent. I will put this information in the description as well. So yeah, by all means, if anyone needs to find Jane, and I think you should, you'll be able to get in contact with her. Yeah, like put it this way, like, yeah, this lady don't quit. She knows how to do it. So yes. So please get in contact. Yeah, subscribe to our different socials. And yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on today, Jane. And
Thank
yeah.
you so much, Muyiwa. It was so much fun chatting with you. I can't believe we've chatted for over an hour.
No, I would
enjoyed it.
Look, I would talk some more, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna. How can I say? Be in contact, and yeah, I'll more than likely get you on this again. Yeah, I've got to say, if you can bring a little bit of the effort and like determination and willpower you brought to many another like person over there or in the world, I mean, yeah, this world would be a much better place. I've got to say thank you very much for your time today. And yeah, I'd like to say thank you to all my friends, all my life warriors out there for listening to the podcast. Is much appreciated. Until next time, I say peace, love, happiness. Be all the positive bees you can be. And yeah, peace.